And we are live. That should be loading now. There we go. Welcome, guys, to the pre-market overview. July 3rd today. Today is a Friday, so happy Friday. I hope you guys have had a good week in the markets. Right, so I'm just going to explain very quickly what we're going to do in terms of what we go through in the overview for those that might be new or haven't been with us before. So the point of today is what we go through. Oh, hold on. I just realized. Oh, no, I am sharing. We're fine. So we go over our newsletter. So the newsletter is sent out every day if you're part of the subscription. If you're not already part of the subscription, then you can email us newsletter@tradewithufos, and then you can get the document that I'm going to go through today. So in the newsletter, we go through 4 of the major markets. We look at the direction that they're going in, how long they're likely to keep going in that direction, volatility and UFOs or orders that could turn price. So we go through all of that in 15-20 minutes, and I'll cover that today. A couple of things to remind you of before we crack on with it. So first of all, my name's Becky. You can email me, becky@tradewithufos, if you need to contact me directly for any questions you might have. Always better though, email the support team. They're always quicker at getting back. So you can email them, support@tradewithufos. Okay, so just a couple of reminders in terms of what we have going on. Today being a Friday means that we have options at 9 a.m. Eastern and then futures at 1 p.m. Eastern. We normally have sharpening sessions over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, but obviously with tomorrow, with tomorrow being the 4th of July, we are not carrying out one tomorrow. So it will just be Sunday that we'll have the session 9 a.m. Eastern this week. And then you can see here that normally we have stocks and investing on Tuesdays and Thursdays as well. So for the upcoming courses that we have coming up, these courses are sort of from the foundations up, going into things in much more depth and going into all of the details of these different concepts or different elements of trading. The first one we have coming up is psychology. That's July 11th to the 17th. Psychology is so often underlooked or focused on in the world of trading. Too many people focus on technique and not what's going on between their ears. So if you haven't already done something on trading psychology, I'd highly recommend that. After that, we have back testing, futures, stocks, and then trading plans. So I'll let you guys read those dates and stuff whilst I go through the disclaimers, and then we'll crack on and go through the newsletter. Okay, so the following videos, clips, demonstrations are for educational and instructional purposes only. Tradective provides these videos purely for the purpose of demonstrating a method of using the product. Users understand that all the content used in the video is purely for demonstration purposes only and is not a guide and does not provide any indication or prediction of actual results. As a user, you understand and agree that hypothetical results obtained through the demonstration do not indicate in any way the results you may receive on using our products. The following presentation is for educational purposes only. All the symbols and trading ideas discussed are for demonstrating and are not recommendations. Active options and futures trading carries a high degree of risk and may not be suitable for all traders. Past historical trading performance of real or simulated trading does not guarantee success and may not be indicative of future results. Trade is an online media publication service which provides educational investment content and ideas along with live trading demonstrations and does not provide investment or trading advice, research or recommendations of any kind. Please visit www.youcantrade.com for additional disclosure information. Okay, I just need, my screen's been a little bit funny here with me, so I'm just going to stop sharing and then I will reshare in 1 second. Okay, so if this guys, there we go, we should have the overview there. Hopefully we can see it. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll in a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. So this is the newsletter that we go through. This is what is sent out every day. Like I said, you can email us to get part of that subscription. So what we're going to go through is the 4, so I'm just seeing on the chat here, sound a little bit muffled. Okay. Sorry about the sound, guys. I'm having tech issues today. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Right, so we go through 4 of the major markets in the world. We go through the S&P, oil, gold, and the euro. So the S&P is the one of the major equity indices in the world, or indexes in the world. We have oil and gold, so obviously 2 major commodities there. Once again, tech issues. There we go. 2 major commodities there, one in the form of energies, one in the form of metal, and the euro as well, which is obviously one of the major currencies in the world. Again, with the euro, we are looking at it on the spot forex market, the euro versus the US dollar. The The US dollar itself is responsible for 80% of transactions worldwide every single day. So we've covered a lot of what goes on in the markets out there. Even if you don't trade these markets specifically, hopefully what you trade will be correlated to it. And again, sort of general movements that are going on out in the markets covered quite a lot in these 4 markets that we go through. So you'll notice that for each of them, we are going into a daily chart. That's the chart that we're going to look at. Again, obviously different things happen on different time frames. If you trade on different time frames, this might not necessarily reflect what you need to do with your trading, but hopefully it falls somewhere in between for most people, whether you're a long-term position trader or a short-term day trader. Now, for each market, we're going to look at the climate. By climate, what we mean is the direction or the trend that a particular market is going in. So that's what we mean by climate. We are using the Auto Climate app to help us, using the technology to tell us there what the climate is. What that technology also does is provide us with these figures, propagating figures. Now, what propagating means is how long does that climate normally go in the same direction? So in terms of probabilities and statistics, what's the average for a market going up or going down? And how far are we into that average? Then we look at our nearest UFOs. UFO stands for unfilled order. So what we mean by unfilled orders is where we expect there to be a big stack of buy orders that are waiting to turn price up if price ever reaches them, or a big stack of sell orders that are waiting to turn price down if price ever reaches them. So again, we're using the Auto UFO app to help us find these on our chart, which give us an idea of where price is likely to turn. What we also go through is expected market volatility for each market, which means how far or how fast we expect these markets to move. So we're going to go through them one by one. So we'll start with the S&P. You'll see the symbol that I'm using there for the S&P is SPX.X. So let's go to TradeStation there. Here we are, SPX.X. So let me just make this a little bit bigger for you guys. Okay, great. So we have the Auto Climate app on the bottom here. We can see that we have a thick blue dot. So the thick blue dot is the app telling us that we have a confirmed up climate. Blue means it's up, thick means it's confirmed. By confirmed, we just mean that we have more probabilities in our favor here, that it would work out if we were to get into a trade. Again, nothing is 100%, nothing is definite. It's all based on probabilities and statistics, but we do have more odds in our favor if it's a confirmed climate versus if it was an unconfirmed climate. Now, in terms of UFOs, the orders that we expect there to be waiting that could turn price, we have this UFO here. That's at 3115.86 to 3101.17. That's the closest buy UFO, where we would expect there to be buy orders that push price up if price were to return to that. Closest sell orders or sell UFO is this one here, and that is at 3207.18 to 3233.13. And we saw yesterday the climate won over the UFO, the sell UFO that we had yesterday. It's going to be interesting to see what plays out today. But like we said, confirmed up climate, and those are the closest UFOs. Now, in terms of climate, let's just understand the propagating. How far would we expect these markets to go? So we can see on the newsletter, we have a green arrow that's pointing upwards without a little cross next to it. That's what tells us that it's a confirmed up climate. If it's unconfirmed, it will have a little cross next to it. Now, in terms of propagating, we understand from the Auto Climate app that the S&P would normally go up in an upwards climate or an upwards direction for 11 candles on a daily chart. I'm rounding that number up. I'm going to round all of those numbers up, okay? So 11 candles on a daily chart, so 11 days, and we are on day number 2 or candle number 2. So what that means is we are at the start of what probabilities suggest could be another 8 or 9 days in the same direction. Again, not always. You'll see a little bit later that not everything goes exactly as we think it will in terms of the averages or probabilities. But again, we have a confirmed upwards climate, and we have probability on our side that that climate can continue based on the averages. And we know where the UFOs are as well that might turn that price. Now, staying on the S&P, let's understand about volatility. So what we mean when we say volatility, is how fast we expect markets to move, or how far we expect them to move in certain directions or within certain time periods. Now, we get the volatility numbers from the options on these markets. So options are traded by professional traders, mostly, especially in these major markets. So when they're buying and selling options, they're therefore setting the price of them. Now, the price that they're willing to buy and sell them at is directly linked to the risk they're willing to take on the option, which is directly linked to how fast they think these markets will move. So basically, the implied volatility numbers come from the professional opinion of options traders or professional options traders as to how far they think price will move. So it's a reflection of professional opinion, basically, in terms of how far price will move within given periods of time. Now, for implied volatility, here we go. We are looking at everything on an annualized basis. So it means everything is done per year. So what this means on this first one here, where we're looking at the VIX, which is to do with the S&P. We expect a movement on the S&P up or down within 1 year of 27.68%, either up or down, which means we would expect a movement either up or down of 54.58 points in 1 day. Now, what that means is that we would also expect a movement in a week up or down of 120.15 points in 1 week. In a month, that's 250.10 points, either up or down in 1 month. Okay, so that's the S&P. Moving on, let's have a look at oil. So for oil, we are looking at CL. That is the continuous futures contract for oil. So let's have a look at oil at CL. Okay, there we go. All right, again, I'm just going to spread this out a little bit so that we can see it a little bit more clearly. There we go, and we've got both the UFOs on the chart. So at the bottom here, once again, we have a thick blue dot, so a confirmed upwards climate. So oil is moving to the upside. In terms of UFOs, our closest buy UFO, we're already in it. It's literally just there where price is right now. So the numbers there are 39.84 to 38.85, and we can see prices just above that at the moment. That's where we expect there to be buy orders that could push price up. Sell orders up here. Sell UFO at 53.39 to 55.27. Closest sell orders, closest red UFO, that could turn price back down if price were to get there. But as we can see, we're quite a way off at the moment and just inside that buy UFO right now as well. So in terms of propagating and how far we would expect, how far we would expect the price to go in that direction. As we saw, we had a confirmed upwards climate. So again, confirmed means we have probabilities on our side. We also have probabilities on our side with propagating, because as we can see here, oil would normally go up for 7 candles in an upwards direction. Again, I've rounded up that number, and we're on candle number 4. So we're about halfway through, just gone halfway through to what the average probabilities tell us as to how far these markets normally go in that direction. And we've got that buy UFO as well. So it can be interesting to see what happens with that, with all of those forces. So when it comes to volatility in oil, we look at OVX.X. That's where we get the figures in terms of understanding how far oil could move. So the annualized number means we would expect oil to move up or down 51.29% within 1 year, which means we would expect a movement up or down of 1.30 points in 1 day, a movement up or down of 2.85 points in 1 week, and a movement up or down of 5.94 points in 1 month. That's on oil. Okay, so moving on to gold. So we're using @GC for gold. Once again, the continuous futures contract for that. So let's have a look here. Okay, here we go. Again, I'm just going to try and space it out a little bit just to make it bigger and easier for you guys to see. Okay, here we go. So once again at the bottom, as with the other markets we've looked at so far, thick blue dot, confirmed upwards climate. Closest buy UFO is here, 1668.3 to 1647.0. We can see here it's already done what we would expect it to do. We expect UFOs to push price up if they're green or push price down if they're red. And here we can see we had a green UFO that did push price up once it came into it. Still on the chart, so still a valid UFO. Then we have the closest sell UFO just up here at 1863.6 to 1879.0. We're about, by the looks of it, 2/3, about halfway between those two UFOs at the moment. Now, in terms of the climate back to propagating, like we said before, not everything goes the way we always expect it to. Not everything fits within the probability. We can see here that gold normally goes up for 6 candles. Once again, rounded up that number, 6 candles on a daily chart. So 6 days, and we're on day number 18. So obviously multiple times overextended, multiple times further than what is normal, what is average, what is statistical on this market. And of course, that could just keep going Bear in mind, the longer we go into a trend or into a climate, the less probability that it is to keep going. Like an elastic band, the more you pull it, the more likely it is to contract. However, we do have a confirmed upwards climate, and on a daily chart at least, we don't have any sell UFOs that are that close. So again, it'd be interesting to see if we do keep breaking those statistics there. Okay, so coming down to volatility, the chart that we use to get the data for this is GVZ.X or GVZ.X. Current implied volatility for that in terms of the yearly is 17.70%. So it means we expect a movement on gold either up or down in 1 year of 17.70%, meaning a movement up or down in 1 day of 19.9 points, up or down in 1 week of 43.9 points, or up or down in 1 month of 91.3 points. Okay, so that's gold. Last but not least, let's understand the euro. So as we said before, we're looking at the euro versus the US dollar. That is the spot forex of this market. So we're going to take a look at it here. Go back to this one. Okay, so euro US dollar. Once again, I'm just going to move this chart a little bit so that we can see what we need to see. We've got our UFO up there. Lovely. Okay, so the first one, that is not a confirmed upwards climate. So down here, we have a thin red dot. Now, what a thin red dot tells us, red tells us that it's a downwards movement, a down climate, and thin is telling us that we have less probability in our favor. It's an unconfirmed climate. So that's the first one, like I said, that's kind of off what the other ones are. In terms of buy UFOs, we've got this one just here, which we can see multiple times. We've already hit this multiple times, 3 or 4 times, maybe more, 5 or 6 times. That we've already hit this and come off of it, which again is what we expect from buy UFOs. The numbers are 1.1168 to 1.1070. I've just rounded those numbers to where they need to be rounded to. Closest sell UFO all the way up here, 1.1740 to 1.1816. Again, like we can see, it's a little bit far away. And this is what's going on the euro dollar on the chart. So to understand propagating, how far would we expect this climate to continue? Bear in mind, it's an unconfirmed climate. What we see here is that normally the euro dollar would go down for 4 candles. And we are on candle number 1 of a downwards movement. So we are at the start of what is statistical in terms of the movement, but we have an unconfirmed climate. And like we said, we've hit that buy UFO multiple times. So it's going to be interesting to see whether or not the climate wins this fight, or whether or not the buy UFO has enough orders to change the climate and push it back up again. So coming down to volatility, so last but not least on this one, we're looking at EVZ.X or EVZ.X. That is the chart that we use for the implied volatility for the euro. So in terms of the annualized numbers, we would expect a movement in a year on the euro of 6.68%, which means a movement up or down of 47 pips in 1 day, a movement up or down of 104 pips in 1 week, or a movement up or down of 217 pips within 1 month. So like we said before, the volatility gives us an idea of how fast these markets are likely to move, or how far they're likely to move in given timeframes. And the climate and the propagating gives us an idea of in what direction and for how long. And the UFOs give us an idea of where price might be likely to turn. So that's the market. Let's just come down here to understand the news. So as we can actually already see here, this was this week's high impact news for US markets. Of course, Tuesday's already happened, Wednesday's already happened, Thursday's already happened. So we've got nothing coming up today, nothing high impact news that could impact US markets. We'll show you it on a weekly basis so that we can sort of show you how this works. So we get the data from fxstreet.com/economic-calendar. I filter it by US markets and by high impact news. So you can change those filters if you trade things that are outside of those parameters. What we then see is on this particular occasion, we're seeing high impact news that could affect the US markets. And if the data has already come out, it's filled in this column. If it's blank, it means we don't know the data, or that FX Street doesn't have the data. And on the left-hand side, we can see the time of day that we see this information coming out. So like we said, we've got nothing today, so nothing relevant in terms of the time of day that something could come out today and impact the markets. Bear in mind always that news is an indirect force that could affect markets. The most direct force that moves price is buy orders and sell orders. That's it. Buying and selling is what moves price. Obviously, news and reports can impact those orders. So indirect force, and again, you can go to that website, play about with the filters to make it fit your trade plan a bit more, and use that information as you will. So a couple of reminders before we round off. So if you're not already subscribed, you can get to us on tradictive.com/you-can-trade. If you're not already subscribed and you want to try us out, it's a free 14-day access. So you can try us out for a couple of weeks, see if it makes sense first before doing anything further. And then in terms of courses, like we said at the start, the next course we have is the psychology course. So if you want to understand a little bit more about that and what's involved in the course and the instructor and the sort of background of it, go to www.tradictive.com/psychology live. At the moment, you can register for any course and choose an additional course for free. So it has to be of equal value or less. So maybe go to the website and play about with what courses you want to take in order to make sure you make the most of that offer and make the best of it. If you have questions on anything, whether it's apps or technology or trading or the channel, whatever it is, email us support@tradictive.com. Today being Friday, we'll see you in options at 9 a.m. and then Friday at, and then futures at 1 p.m. And then we will wrap up today, 4:15 p.m. My colleague Boyan will be looking at what did happen in the markets, what went as planned, what went as expected, maybe what didn't, and we'll round it off for the week as well. So I'll see you guys back on Monday. Hopefully you have a good weekend. Hopefully you have a smashing end to the trading week. Like I said, reach out if you need anything, but otherwise have a good one and we'll see you on Monday. Take care, guys.